While You Were Sleeping, Episodes 1-2. Episode 1 Recap. Hongju is numb with shock, and then suddenly runs into the bathroom and starts cutting her hair in wild desperation. Mom pulls the scissors out of her hands and asks what's wrong, and Hongju cries that it happened just like in her dream. Mom says that they couldn't do anything about it, but Hongju is inconsolable as she wails, "It doesn't change. Mom, what do I do? What do I do?" Mom hugs her in worry as Hongju sobs. She ends up telling Mom about her dream, and Mom just laughs sweetly and asks if that's why she cut her hair. Hongju says she had long hair in her dream, and vows never to grow it again. Mom says teasingly that Hongju's looks were mostly due to her hair, and tells her with a comforting hug that she won't die so easily. Hongju says in a tiny voice, "You're all I have in this world. So don't leave me alone, okay? Agate, now I'm terrified." Despite what she says to Hongju, that night Mom takes out her bank books and starts writing out a will. The calendar behind her says it's February 13th, 2016. The next day, on Valentine's Day, Yubum buys a bouquet of flowers and is surprised to run into Jae-chan outside the restaurant, in the middle of taking more embarrassing selfies, naturally. Jae-chan says he's here on a date as well, when Hongju runs up to them and greets Yubum. She and Jae-chan turn to each other in a mix of surprise and antipathy, and Jae-chan is extra shocked that she and Yubum are dating. Yubum suggests that Jae-chan and his date join them, and Hongju and Jae-chan mix that idea in unison. As they head inside, Yubum makes sure to patronize Jae-chan as usual, patting him on the butt and acting proud that he's all grown up and has a car, when it seemed like just yesterday he was buying him a motorcycle. Flashback to 2003. Dad had discovered Jae-chan's motorcycle because gotten into an accident, and accused him of stealing it. Jae-chan swore he didn't steal it, and ended up confessing to forging his report cards with Yubum for the money. Dad had been so proud that he framed every one of Jae-chan's report cards to display on his desk, but at Jae-chan's confession, he threw them all in the trash, heartbroken. Jae-chan sighs in the present thinking of that memory, and then notices the snow begin to fall. Hongju is distracted through dinner when Mom doesn't answer any of her text messages, and she thinks back to having blown out the candles and checked the stove before leaving, but then realizes that she left the front door open. The worry is too much for her and she bolts up to go check on Mom, and Yubum offers to drive her car for her because she's never driven in snow before. Gak, I just realized she's wearing the same outfit from the opening dream sequence. Meanwhile, Mom is on her way home as usual, except a young man in a baseball cap is on her tail the whole way, like a creeper. He follows her all the way to her front gate, and Mom jumps in fright when he calls out to ask her something. Hongju calls Mom repeatedly as Yubum drives, and she sighs in relief when Mom finally answers and says she left her phone at the coffee shop, but a nice young man brought it to her. Phew. Hongju can finally rest at ease, but she asks Yubum to take care of her mother in the event that she causes an accident. is confused, but he promises to protect her and her mother. He looks over at her, and in that instant, a figure tumbles over the hood of the car and falls to the ground in a bloody heap. Oh shit. Hey, it's the young man in the Batman cap who returned Mom's phone. He lies in a pool of blood, not moving, and the car careens into a lamppost and Hongju's eyes flutter open for half a second, and then when she wakes again, she's in the hospital. She can barely focus her eyes and searches the room for Mom, but the only familiar face she sees is her aunt's. She fades again and then wakes up for good this time, and is shocked to see how long her hair has grown. Crap. Aunt says it's Christmas Eve, and the other Ajumas in the hospital room say that she's been asleep for months. Hongju asks for Mom, and Aunt says tearfully that Mom held on for so long just waiting for the day that Hongju would wake up. Explains that someone died in that accident that she caused. Interesting that no one ever mentions Yubum in all this, and that in order to pay damages to the young man's family and to cover her hospital bills, Mom had to sell the restaurant and the house, and work night and day without rest. One day she collapsed in exhaustion, and fell down a flight of stairs to her death. And just like in her dream, Hongju opens up her mother's will, which lists her accounts and ends with, "Don't blame yourself." She begs her aunt to tell her this is a dream. "I have to wake up." "Why can't I wake up? Tell me this is a dream, please. I don't like this dream." Aunt urges her to keep it together, saying that she might be facing trial for the accident. Hongju doesn't understand why when she wasn't the driver, which is news to her aunt.